Welcome back, or welcome if you're just joining us. It's the France 24 debate. We're speaking after Hillary Clinton made her announcement on social media that she is once again seeking the Democratic Party nomination for U.S. President next year. With us, Léa Pizarro, former advisor to U.S. President Bill Clinton. Also with us, somebody who worked at the State Department under the Clinton administration. Laurie Dunton, who today teaches at the French Political Science Institute. Sciences Po, so does Laetitia Vito. And we're also in the company of Gérald Olivier, columnist with Atlantico.fr. Just before the break, we were talking about how much things have changed in America in terms of perception of a female candidate for president. Is it going to be a non-issue, the fact that she's a woman on the campaign trail this time?
I think Laetitia was right that Hillary will have to use the women issue as a strong point, as something to push voters behind her. And I don't think Republicans are going to hit on the fact that she's a woman. No, she has such a compelling resume. She would make a very, very good president. The more interestingly, seems to me, is that you don't get elected president because of your compelling resume. You get elected because of something you want to do. And so far, we don't really know what Hillary wants to do. She wants to be president. She wants to be president for herself. She wants to be president to be in the history books. She wants to be president because it would be the final step of that very compelling resume. But she's not wanting to be president to take America to a place that she's already defined. And that's what the campaign will do, and that's what the Republicans will challenge in her bid.
Laurie Dunton, in 2008, Barack Obama, when he enters the race, he's written that book where he spells out his vision. Hillary Clinton's book, disappointing for many. It's a sort of a memoir that has a little bit of gossip in it, but not really a vision for the United States.
It's a different book at a different phase in their lives. This is after she'd been in office. Her second book, describing different years of her lives, he was launching himself onto the stage in a bit of a different way. Just different timing, different place in their lives, and different story to tell. But I think she does have a chance to take a very future forward-looking approach, and she's made every indication that she wants to reintroduce or refresh her introduction with voters so that they do know who she is today after all of these years of having seen Hillary in different roles and different jobs and different functions and what she wants to do in the future. So that's the phase we're just beginning now. So in some ways, I'm not surprised we don't know the answers to all those details yet, because we're just starting.
You
want to vote today?
I don't want to vote today, no. We're being very nice with her. Going back to that book, Hard Choices, I assume is the one you're referring to. If you remember 1984, and I think it was Walter Mondale, if I'm correct, where's the beef? There's no beef in that book. 600 pages, and you don't know what she stands for. You don't know what places she wants America to have in the world. And to me, that's a real issue, especially when you're running for president.
Laetitia Vito,
There's something very difficult or very dangerous about being the inevitable candidate or the unstoppable candidate. And that risk is of running a boring, bland campaign that will not energize the base, that will not energize many donors she will need to reach that $1 billion for the election. So I think that's really what I would say is one of her weaknesses. She a little bit like that ad she ran yesterday. There's a little bit of everything in it, but it doesn't say much about her, and it's, to be very honest, just a little bit boring. So I hope she will, energize the base a little bit more and run a more exciting campaign.
All right, she's not the only one putting messages out on social media. The talk of the return of Hillary Clinton, a reminder that the bookmaker's favorite for the Republican nomination is the former Florida governor and the brother and son of former U.S. presidents, Jeb Bush.
We must do better than the Obama-Clinton foreign policy that has damaged relationships with our allies and emboldened our enemies. Better than their failed big government policies that grow our debt and stand in the way of real economic growth and prosperity. I believe it's conservative ideas that will renew America, grow our economy, put our fiscal house in order, and make our great country even stronger. I know we can do better, and together we will.
All right, Jeb Bush making his pitch, and it got to be said, Leah Pizarro, a lot of people are turned off by the idea of either a Clinton or a Bush being back in the White House, saying it's too much of a dynasty for two families to dominate the most powerful position in the whole world.
They're very different families, and I think it's an easy comparison to make. But frankly, Hillary's a woman, and that's pretty new. Jeb Bush is the third in the Bushes. So I think they're two completely different cases.
But if it does come down to Jeb Bush against Hillary Clinton in the fall,
Will of the people. What are you going to say?
will it play to what Laetitia Vito was saying, which is a predictable, slightly boring campaign in a way?
I think you know what? I would love a predictable and boring campaign because it would mean that the world is a good, safe, and easy place. Alas, we don't have that luxury. So I think it's going to be a very animated, probably a very nasty campaign, all the more so because there's going to be so much money in the campaign, because as you know, the funding has been unregulated in the last 5 years. So I think we are, alas, going to see a very agitated and bitter campaign as we did the last time.
Gérard Olivier?
It would definitely turn away voters. And I don't think it would be a very good thing for the U.S. To have both of these. She is the inevitable nominee right now. She's running unopposed among Democrats, so she'll get the nomination. It's not the case on the other side among Republicans. And what we're going to see with the Republicans is a new generation. Whether these men are ready or not, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, who announced today, even Rand Paul, these are all people in their 40s or very early 50s. It's another generation. And Americans are much more willing to give new people their chance than other electorates, such as the French, for example. And so Hillary Clinton is going to have trouble running against that because she's been there all these years and people know it.
She's been there all these years, and if Laurie Dunson, if it's not Jeb Bush, then she's going to, again, seem like the Washington insider against the new guy.
But who is she trying to reach out to? It's a different electorate than it was 8 years ago and than it was 16 years ago. Whether the age of the Republican candidate matches the age of the Democratic candidate, I think matters less than who are they reaching out to in those constituencies? Who speaks most to the issues of the millennial generation, the post-millennial generation, the new type of families that represent the demographics of the United States today? And that doesn't necessarily have to line up with what one's own age number is. I think we're going to see the Democratic campaign, and if it's Hillary Clinton, every indication is so on these issues, she'll be reaching out to whole new constituencies in a way that's not familiar or predictable.
Yeah, very briefly. That's her challenge, because Barack Obama overwhelmingly won the youth vote. And I'm not sure that those voters will vote for Hillary, not just because of age, but Barack Obama represented something very new in politics, at least back in 2008. She doesn't. And so she's going to have trouble retaining that constituency and getting through that election.
All right, so the youth vote could be a toss-up in a way it wasn't in previous elections. Laetitia Vito, what will be the other battlegrounds of this changing demographics in the United States?
The Latino vote, obviously, the most challenging part for her will be to energize them enough and to have them actually vote. They represent a growing proportion of the American population, but still a relatively small proportion of the electorate, no more than 10%, if I'm not mistaken, whereas they represent, 17–18% of the population. So that this gap is because they vote less, and they have to be on those voting lists. That's what the Democrats will work at. That's what Obama achieved in 2012, and Hillary will certainly take good care of that. But there again, she has to have a message that's a bit energizing and that will have the militants behind her and truly excited.
She's seen as more of a centrist than many inside of the Democratic Party. How do you energize the left wing of the party to come out and vote? Because that'll be important in those battleground states.
That's the challenge of the campaign, is how she's going to define the message. Everyone's complaining that she hasn't defined her message yet. she's been in it for less than 24 hours. So let's give her a chance to do so. I think she'll do it progressively. And yes, she has to appeal to these, I'm using the word demographics again, to the demographics of the country, which have changed and continue to change. And there is the Latino vote, and there are many other minority votes that she has to appeal to. It will also depend on who her running mate is and on who her opponent is. Because if it's someone to the right, if it's a Cruz or a Rubio, then it will be good to tack to the center. If it's someone more centrist, then she might have to tack more to the left. Well, time will tell.
All right, well, the good news for the Republicans is French citizens won't be allowed to vote. Hillary Clinton getting tweets of support from both sides of the political aisle here in this country, including from the current socialist prime minister and the former conservative president. Nicolas Sarkozy, yes, there you see it, tweeting in English, saying, "Good luck, Hillary Clinton. I know how strong your passion is for the United States." Were you surprised by this, Laetitia? This support all across the field, even from Nicolas Sarkozy?
Given how the French treated their one and only female prime minister, yes. Maybe they want to see it happen somewhere else, the first woman on top, because they're not generally very, very, how should I put it, feministic. So yes, it's a bit surprising. But on the other hand, if you see that it's either a Ted Cruz or a Marco Rubio on the other side, for the French, there is just no... there's no question there. They cannot possibly identify, the mainstream France does not identify with Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz.
But this is the leader of the main opposition party who's aspiring to be the next president again. Already stating his preference. We heard the foreign minister today, Laurent Fabius, gush about Hillary Clinton, throwing aside any kind of filter when it comes to the campaign.
Isn't that a sign of how extreme the Republican Party has become? That no mainstream French politician can possibly support a Republican candidate?
I'm not sure he was stating his preference. I think it was a diplomatic telegram. You know, it's a new face of politics. This is supposed to be a private message, but it's actually a private message for public consumption. So she's an international figure. He was president. He knows her well.
He's wishing her good luck.
Yeah, he's wishing her good luck. Doesn't mean I want you to win. You say good luck because he's fair. And we're only at the very beginning of the campaign.
I
so
doubt
think
he will send such an email to Marco Rubio. Has he sent such an email to Marco Rubio? He announced earlier on.
But Marco Rubio is not a woman.
Laurie Dudzik, what do you think of the French coverage of all of this?
Well, there certainly is a lot of enthusiasm, but it's not only in France. Hillary Clinton has been watched and admired and viewed with all sorts of opinions around the world. So I think the question of will she or won't she run has been repeated for years now. I'm not surprised that there was a very rapid response to this anticipated move.
Perhaps less so, you might say, in the places like the Middle East, where she is considered to be more pro-Israel than the current president.
I think right now everybody wants to see how this race is going to turn out in 2016 because back to one of those consistent points where the U.S. election will affect a number of relations in a number of parts of the world. So everyone's curious and watching and waiting. And at least with Hillary, they know her as Secretary of State. And we'll see. We have yet to see who the other candidate will be.
Mm-hmm. There's brand recognition. They know the name. They're interested, which is also, unfortunately, a sign that that the Clinton family's become a dynasty. It's true. They're like the Kennedys. They're known. There are so many articles about Chelsea, about the baby, about the family as a whole. People are just interested because they're so famous.
And she traveled the world, though, in an official capacity. She was, every time she was in these countries, she was the Secretary of State. So she's wasn't just a headline piece of news. She has a world recognition in that capacity as well.
Will another Clinton presidency, though, be good news for these parts of the world, especially in the Middle East, where she's considered to be, the people that are around her are considered to be much more pro-Israel than the current president?
I think she's going to be very strong on foreign policy. So yes, I think it's a good thing for the Middle East and the rest of the world.
Gerald Olivier?
Americans are very confused about the world right now. And foreign policy is definitely going to be an issue. But how it's going to turn out, I can't tell. Americans feel rejected by the world. They feel they don't understand the world anymore. They don't understand what their leaders want their role in the world to be, neither on the Democratic nor on the Republican side, by the way, because now Republicans are very divided among the isolationist of the Rand Paul category and the more interventionist of the old Bush camp. On the Democratic side, Hillary is an interventionist. Obama is not. And so we don't really know what she's going to tell, what role she's going to propose for America in the world. And foreign policy is definitely going to be an issue, but it's going to be a hard one to find a rallying majority behind it, because Americans are a little bit fed up with the world at this time.
A little bit fed up with the world, and it is true that there is an isolationist streak that is stronger than it was a few years ago. We're getting mixed messages about the United States. On the one hand, the growth is back, the unemployment rate is down, but a lot of those jobs are precarious, and people are tired of foreign conflicts. Is there the feeling, Léa Pizarro, that Gérald Olivier is right, that we're heading towards a new phase, perhaps, of isolationism?
There's definitely that strain in the Republican Party when one sees it on all sorts of fronts, and the American people are tired of these two very long wars that really wore them down, that really hurt the economy.
I mean, it's not just the Republican Party. We saw the results of the midterm elections, and there you people from independent voters who voted Republican.
Yes, well, that's a different story, which I can get to in a second. But on foreign policy, there's always going to be a debate of isolationism versus interventionism, but America is the greatest superpower in the world. It is always going to have a role to play in the world. It has no choice. On what happened at the midterms, this is something that happens frequently halfway through a presidential term. It's what the French call alternance. The pendulum goes back and forth. So that's not really such a surprise.
There isn't a fundamental change, Laetitia Vito, in the United States?
I think the change has already occurred under Obama's presidency. The fact that he sent so many drones instead of soldiers is really the shift. I mean, it started with Bush, but Obama really continued basically that kind of policy. And to some extent, it's already more isolationist than under Bill Clinton.
And what's the trend going forward? In the next, how do you see this playing out during the next election campaign?
I think foreign policy will not play that much of a role in the campaign, except to highlight Hillary's experience and strength. But I don't think it will be the main issue. I think domestic issues will interest Americans more than foreign policy.
And will it be Clinton versus Bush?
I hope not.
You hope not. Why?
Because that would be a sign that that only dynasties, that only supermarket chains can win. That's what Hubert Humphrey said when he ran against Kennedy in the 1960 primary. He said he felt like the owner of an independent store running against, because the whole Kennedy family was against him, running against a chain of supermarkets. I think that's more of the case today, that you have to have an incredible machine behind you to be the candidate, to be the nominee, to be represented. And it's not a very good sign for democracy. It's not a good sign. It shows that somehow democracy is not very healthy. Furthermore, I think that a less moderate candidate on the Republican side would help Hillary more. And naturally, I prefer a Democratic president.
So if the campaign seems scripted, it's not Hillary Clinton's fault, it's the system's fault, says Laetitia there. Do you agree?
Unfortunately, yes, I do. And I quite agree with everything that was just said right now about this Clinton versus Bush. I won't say ticket, but if that's what the American electorate has to choose, once again, they're going to be turned off because they've had those names before, they've seen those faces before, they've heard these people before, and it's reached the point where I think it's time for a new face. It was time for a new face 8 years ago, and Barack Obama worked on that. Now it's still time for a new face, and indeed, we haven't seen a Republican candidate able to gather the type of electorate that would make him be electable yet, besides Jeb Bush, unfortunately.
Could there be one?
Yes, there could still be one, of course. I do believe that America today has a Republican majority. That's what the midterm election shows, and it's not just alternance. I think there was, in 2010, in 2012, you've seen a growing Republican majority, and so far that majority hasn't found a person to project its will upon. If that person shows up or is found, he or she might, win that election, and you might not know who it is yet.
All right, so there could be plenty of excitement still to come in any case. We'll see how the script evolves. I want to thank you, Laurie London, Gérald Olivier. I also want to thank Laetitia Vito, Léa Pizar. Stay with us, though. Our Media Watch segment is next. Hello, James Creedon.
Hi, Francois. Obsession across the European media with politics.
We showed Nicolas Sarkozy there.
Well, this is it. Well, we'll get to him. We'll get to him. The Times, she's on the front page of The Times. She's on the front page of El País. Libération this morning, their headline was Lady First. Very imaginative altogether. And indeed, they're certainly playing on that gender question, even in the official campaign. Bill for First Lady 2016 is one of the sort of websites that is being rolled out by Hillary's team. Now, what else do we have? Hillary Clinton, this is Arrêt sur Image, a media analysis website. They're, first of all, amazed really at the degree of wall-to-wall coverage in the French media about this. I'll just show you something a little bit further on, if I can find it here. Even French politicians across the board were reacting on Twitter, and most of them were tweeting in English. Christiane Taubira, the Justice Minister, good news, could Fairwind strengthen your sails and give you wings, she said.
She quoted Langston Hughes.
Yes, very poetic altogether. Go Hillary, a little bit more simple for the Health Minister, Marisol Touraine, using some emoticons. We also had Nicolas Sarkozy, a little bit further up, if I could get up to it. Good luck, Hillary Clinton. Oh, that's Manuel Valls, that's the Prime Minister. But
they both said good luck.
That's right, good luck indeed. And interestingly, he put a video up on Sunday, yesterday, where he is in fact running. Now, I don't know if that was a subliminal message, Francois, but in any case, he was running and wishing good luck to those who were running the Paris Marathon, who was yesterday. Do we want to have a look at that run again? There he is.
He's not running very fast.
Not running very fast.
It's not going to be sub-3.
No, it's certainly not, but it did get a lot of reactions and a certain amount of satire on social media, but we'll save that for another day. What else do we have? On various websites, they've been looking at her logo as well. The logo, a degree of criticism for the simple H that she opted for, with some people pointing out that red arrow points to the right, which for a supposedly sort of more left-leaning party member, I'm not entirely sure a big red arrow pointing right is the best logo for a Democratic candidate, says one.
Gérald Olivier says it looks like a hospital sign.
That's right. You're not the only one. Someone on Twitter have been saying that as well. Now, some are positive about it. Vox.com, in their coverage, say that the announcement video is surprisingly bold, fascinating filmmaking. Now, I presume you've been showing viewers earlier, but essentially she doesn't appear in the video until the very end. You have a very diverse range of citizens, Mexican, or I suppose Hispanic origin, homosexuals, etc., across the board appearing, and she only appears at the end. So some saying that is really, it is a break from the style of campaign video that you normally see, where it's the candidate, him or herself, appearing throughout the video.
As Léa Pizar said, the negative ads will come later on.
Right, exactly. Whereas elsewhere in Quartz, they're saying, well, actually, all of the people in her video seem to be acting out scenes from the candidate's life. So really, how humble is she being? So indeed, that has been the question. Is it humility, or is it just an you know, an intelligent way of referring to herself as much as possible. So there you go. It's been dissected about as much as anything can be in the last 24 hours.
And dissect we will continue to do.
Indeed.
Many thanks, James Creedon. I want to thank our panel once again for being with us. Thank you for joining us here in the France 24 debate.